The same old story that I heard yesterday. Yeah, goes the headlines, man. They all just go to blame. Their brains are fixed and rigged. You know they're all just spam. So buckle down, look right in. Cause it's way under your skin. Just gotta bow on the things they spout. And you should give me that good news.
Why? Because I'm just tired of that same old shit. Now my dog would start barking if I did that. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to 216 The Net and the Grounds with Giles and Jones. I'm Giles, he's Jones, and we have a new guest here today. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
My name is Rick Prescott.
Rick Prescott.
You're going to know that voice, that sexy, smooth voice, and that good look. He is one of the hosts of Roger That Chronicles, new show. Well, we got about 2 or 3 in now, don't we? On the first and third Thursday.
Yeah, we just finished episode 3.
Episode 3, yeah. So check them out. Absolutely good stuff. We're glad to have an ex-Marine. Are you ever an ex-Marine?
No, there's no such thing.
No,
Not
such
active.
No, there's only one ex-Marine
Yeah.
that I know of, and it was Lee Harvey Oswald.
Yeah.
But we
We
still brag about his shooting skills.
too soon?
Oh, sorry, it's too soon.
Yeah, too soon.
Wait, please forgive me.
I don't know. Anyway, you're going to see Uncle Pete up there. Uncle Pete says, hey, if you want to join the show, just throw that URL code. I don't know what it is. Anyway, you put that HTTPS into your URL, and you can come in and join the show from anywhere in the world. We've had people from Grapevine, Texas. We've had people from Singapore on with us. If you want to come in, enjoy a cup of coffee, and talk about anything from politics to peanut butter, but no politics, we can go. Look at that. And there's a lady that we miss here in studio. Miss
Hey,
Mary
good
Shep.
morning, Mary. Holy cow, haven't
Mary.
seen her
Hi,
in a
Mary.
while.
Mary is the host. It's on hold. I always say it's on hold. It hasn't been canceled. She hasn't quit. It just
She's reformulating the new
living
season.
low sodium. I love her. I miss her. She does great things. Mary, good morning.
Yeah.
When I say I love her, I mean that very.
Yeah, I like
business.
a friend as a person,
Yeah.
right? Not as a lover.
I don't,
especially if Alice is listening.
well, or Ben.
More
Anyway,
afraid of Alice or Ben?
yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Oh.
Of course, today's brought to you through the financial support of our good friends at
Community Home Inspections. If you're looking to buy, sell, or just maintain your home,
Yeah.
give us a call, 847-401-9501, 847-401-9501. It's just, when you're buying a home, you want to know what you're getting. When you're selling a home, you kind of want to know what you're selling. Hey, and if you're just living there and you want to know what's going on, because it is the biggest investment most of us will make in our life, give us a call. We'll come in and give you the old checkup. Check underneath the hood. We'll pop the hood and see what we got going on.
Awesome.
That's it. What's on your mind today, Scott?
I have nothing on my mind. I'm completely blank.
Yeah.
Well, the only thing on my mind is, what do you think of the economic situation of India after the Vietnam era?
So anyway, we were talking about the color red.
Okay, I'll leave. I got it. Kicking me out the door already.
You're going to go with any of that?
Well, it's to me, it's interesting because over there in India, because they work cheaply now.
They work cheaply. They're really good.
Hey, Mary. Good morning.
Good morning, Shane. Oh, Mary just chimed in. And she's in the car. Keep your eyes on the road now.
How are you, sister? How have you been? Happy New Year. I know you're busy. You're rocking and rolling, doing great things with some friends of ours over at Restoration One and over at Brightway, the insurance place. So we love you, miss you, but how are things?
Extremely busy, but I couldn't miss an opportunity since I have a long drive to chime in and be a part of the show. I miss everything about being part of the studio and my show and all of it. So I'll be back soon.
She's just taking a sabbatical. That's what we call it in the world, the sabbatical.
She's rethinking. She's refocusing.
So Scott wants to know about fear and desperation. Fear and desperation, and why does that drive people, and why do countries and leaders of countries try to use that to control the populace?
Right. I mean, so we were kind of chit-chatting, and I was listening to something. I was reading something as well, and it said basically, if you can get the right balance between desperation and fear, you can control anybody. And that really struck a chord with me. You know?
Yeah.
That's very Machiavellian.
All right, I'm going again. Is it the color red today?
Well, red
No,
shirt
right.
Friday. Remember, everyone deployed.
Right. Oh, that's
So-
true.
Did I throw everyone off here?
No, I'm just messing with you. we're just like
I'm
two
just like,
idiots having coffee, messing with you.
Shayna says simply because it works. For your desperation.
And it does, and that's what,
Yeah.
and that's what's for me was kind of interesting, because then you kind of look back at a lot of things that are happening. Well, that's happened in my life and happening in the world, and it's blatantly clear that really does work. If you can get that balance between someone desperate for something but also fearing maybe the unknown or whatever, you can push them in certain directions and make them do things that they might not want to do. And I kind of looked back a little bit at my life and things that have happened, and it's like, it's true. You put that into a person, and trying to decipher and figure out which way to go and how to get there and have the least.
Isn't that sort of what I don't know, fathers do?
Good morning, Facebook user.
Good morning.
Well, sure. Yeah. Dads do that all the time.
I'm thinking that's what fathers do.
Wait till your dad gets home. Oh, fine.
Wait, that's your
Well,
mom.
yeah.
That's your mom that says that.
Yeah.
But
But
yeah,
in a lot
parents
of
do
ways, there's a sense of direction in that particular regard. If you fear this, you're deterred by that, then you'll walk this straight line, and you can be successful or whatever. But you can turn that around. You can twist this any way you wish. It can be an evil thing or it can be a good thing. So
using the fear response in sales is a normal tactic.
What's that?
Yeah. Yeah.
I said using fear response in sales is a normal tactic. You trigger the fear response in someone for the fear of rejection, the fear of separation, the fear of all of it. So simply sending an email to you that says, "So are we done? Are we not going to do this deal?" will get a response like 70% of the time back from someone who's been ghosting you simply because of the fact that it triggers that fear response of losing something.
Well, sure. Limited time only. Hey.
Right.
Well, the other side of that coin too, what you're just saying here, Mary, is that I've seen it where they ask you questions in sales, and then they kind of commit you to an answer, and in the end, hey, when they're trying to close the deal, hey, what about this? You said this. We should close this deal because after all, you did agree.
Well, in sales, it is fear of loss, or the fear of the fear. What is it? FOMO. Fear of missing out. I'm not getting it. Someone else is. The wait. There's more. I mean, and it's interesting that you brought that up about parents, though, too. I mean, sales. That is one of the main things that they teach you when you're becoming a salesman, right? Is how to pitch to the person, adapt to that person, and make them want that, and see how it's going to benefit their life or their business or whatever you're selling. And the fear of losing that, or is pretty prevalent with people, and it makes people do some things sometimes that they don't want to. You get the buyer's remorse, right? They push you right into it. It's like, oh my God, why did I do that? Then you have time to actually think about it.
Yeah,
it's just. It's unnerving in some respects for me how simple that is becoming in our world, right? It's more and more.
I'm going back to the parents thing. I think moms, they teach shame, and fathers teach limits. And you shouldn't do that. What did you do that for? That was bad. That's moms, and they try to redirect and they try to balance in that particular method. But dads, they'll teach the limits. If you do this, then this is going to happen. And you may not like it. So
I only had to get whooped with that belt a couple of times to figure out not to do it again. That's the truth.
I didn't learn that quickly. It took more than one or two times for me.
So Shayna says, is CERN the new Tesla death ray? He may have accidentally caused huge blast area, the cause of which remains unknown.
I don't know what CERN is, so I feel uneducated right now.
And then Shana says, we came into this world with a need to connect. Fear, what's that? Triggers separation from the group, and that lessens your chance of survival. At least that's the premise. It serves evolution.
Interesting. Serves evolution.
I don't know if we came into this world with a need to connect. Human.
Well, that's part of the human condition, right? I think that's kind of what she's getting at. But as a child, we don't feel the need to connect. We just need to be with our mamas, right? To help raise us up. But
fear triggers separation from the group, and that lessens your chance of survival. I don't know. There's a large part of me that isn't afraid, but I would love to live in the mountains in a cabin away from everybody. That's me, though,
Is she
right?
referring to tribalism?
Well,
Survival
could be.
through
Well,
tribalism?
that's right.
Yeah.
Well, I think
Right.
your comment about fear triggers separation from the group and lessens your chance of survival. So, yes, and well, yes, because like social anxiety, anxiety and fear are different, but in some respects they're related, right? Because if you're anxious, there's something that's bothering you about that's uncomfortable. Fear is also uncomfortable. You know, the acronym for fear is false evidence appearing real.
It's face everything and rise. Maybe
Nice. I'll take that. Was a real white man hand slap.
Maybe. So here's the problem. I see. Here's the problem as I see it.
With his new blue glass.
Is we as humans are programmed to worry about you and what you think of me. It's not fear. From the day one, hey, Scotty got a gold star and a happy face.
It's comparison.
You didn't, Kent. Right? Scotty, everybody who got a nice star, everybody stand up. You get to be first in line, right? So it's always a competition from day one, right? And I think when we talk about fear, it's whatever definition of fear is that someone gave me. I don't create my own definition of fear, right? So in the military, they reprogram soldiers. They do.
Right.
That's
What they want to do is break you down, right?
Don't be afraid to use the word brainwash, because
break you down,
Exactly.
build back up, whatever. My son went into boot camp for the Navy, right? And it's not one of the toughest ones. We'll just be honest there, right?
Is that why you're wearing that?
But
Because you're not very tough.
I'm proud of my son serving our country. Right, you can go make fun of all you want.
not
Man.
making fun of it.
My son's putting his life on the line. So
I appreciate
you can make
that.
fun of him. That's
I was in the Marines.
I'm not.
Are you gonna burn
weren't-
the flag too now, Scott?
Yeah, I just
Jesus.
did. I just did.
So be sensitive about this, okay, on the Navy side, because that's without those.
I love
guys,
them all. I don't care
That's-
what branch of the military they are.
So
that's
they're
our
all
Uber.
they're all warriors and they're
I
all.
mean,
so
Kent always puts you on the spot, Scott. Like you just suddenly become a country hater. Like you just damn the military.
I know. You know, if you listen to a lot of the podcasts, he's my best friend. You know, you would
Dude, I
never know
feel
that.
for anybody that chimes in for one show and is like,
Tells
damn,
it
that
all
Scott
the
guy's a
story.
prick.
down this week.
Poor Kent.
So the idea of people say, oh, fear cause no, you're buying into everything, all the propaganda, everything that everybody else is telling you. Soldiers, as I was saying, they understand, okay, if my anxiety or my fear starts to rise a little, I gotta take a deep breath, squeeze the trigger, right? It's all the training that we receive and that we allow ourselves to accept as reality.
Right.
And so let's take, for instance, 2 weeks ago, or maybe even last week, we had a very bad ice storm here. Well, what did you hear on the news, on the radio stations, on the weather stations? This is going to be the worst storm ever in Minneapolis.
Yeah,
They have never seen a storm
Right.
like this ever. I'm thinking Minneapolis has seen 10 inches of snow. Right?
They've seen
Doom and gloom.
25 in
Right?
one.
So it's all doom and gloom and oh my gosh. So earlier this week, it's, hey, there's this. Well, pretty soon it's the boy who cried wolf. All of these tactics now, I'm hoping that people in the world are much smarter than this, but all these tactics, people got to start going, I got to stop listening to this crap, because all they're trying to do is
They're instilling fear in
scare
them.
me into something, right?
Into submission.
So it's not about, I don't allow fear to guide me, right? Fear is a piece of the way that I'm wired that will help me survive, right, in a life and death situation.
Well, absolutely.
In the military, there's well, we all know about fight, flight.
Yeah.
But the third one they don't talk about is the freeze.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's beyond your life experiences, this is what I learned in law enforcement. If somebody pulls a knife on you and it's not part of your life experience, you can most likely, if you're not trained for it, you're most likely you'll freeze.
Most people do.
Well, and when you get into these type of professions, you know, you're constantly working at and so on. It's no longer not your life experience. The shooting, the loud noises, the chaos, etc. And now what ends up happening is that you condition yourself that you can function under that fear. So rather than to freeze, you're either going to run away from it or you're going to fight it. And chances are, because of your training, you're going to fight it. Right. So you overcome that fear.
Well, you're adapting.
So in effect, you know, in effect, you just mentioned you don't let fear overcome you. Neither do I. Ever.
Well,
Snowstorm, we've had those before.
Right. You can't let it overcome you, but what they're doing is they're making it to the point to where it is, you know, it's a doom and gloom. I mean, there's storm everywhere, you know, don't go anywhere. I mean, fear, once again, like I said, the false evidence appearing real. I forget what you said, Kent, but
face everything and rise.
Right. Yeah. So and both are right. You know what I mean? When I wouldn't be where I'm at or be the person I am if I didn't rise above the fear, right? I mean, anything anything that we do, there is some type of, you're questioning yourself, or I call it fear. I'm afraid of what's going to happen. I'm afraid of what's going to happen if I don't do it. I'm afraid of what's going to happen if I do it. I'm afraid of what people, you know, how it's going to affect people that I love, or, you know, so there's always that element of fear, but it's overcoming it and adapting and changing your game plan, if you will, to get the best result of whatever it is you're trying to accomplish. You know, fear holds back many people because, you know, they're afraid to see what's on the other side. You know, some people are afraid of success. Some people don't know what to do. I mean, we've talked about this before. So fear is a motivator, right?
Oh, huge.
Fear should be a motivator, but unfortunately, a lot of times fear is it's a wall. It's a block, a big wall for people. And they'll just let it take a hold of them. What's that, Mary?
I said it's a suppressant. It's the same with, illness and everything that people overcome. When you get someone, you know, 2 people diagnosed with cancer and one's gone in 2 weeks and the other one survives 25 years, and you go, well, how come one and not the other? And it's the same with anything else, with the 2 sides to every coin. Someone's either going to see it as an opportunity and rise above it and push everybody out of their way, or someone's going to freeze and they're going to be suppressed by that fear and not be able to overcome it. And it's sad, but it can be used for good things and it could use for bad.
Right. Well, in my environment, where, you know, where the fear portion or factor comes in, you're afraid to let your buddies down.
I was literally just going to bring up the fact of you being in the military, that had to be a major driver for you guys, because you have both fear and desperation every day, afraid of what's going to happen and desperate to make sure that you are okay, that you're achieving your mission and taking care of your comrades. That's
you want to know what's funny?
But you're taking care of your common man, right?
Yep. What's that? What's that, Mary? What's funny?
The same rule applies when people ask why I've overcome the things that I've overcome. It wasn't a fear of dying. It wasn't a fear of any of those things. And it wasn't a fear of anything that I would go through. It was a fear of, and still is and always will be, a fear of being a burden on my family. And it's the same thing now that pushes me through to be better, is I don't want to be a burden on my husband or my family late in life because of my health issues. So I fight every day to be healthy. And it's the same concept. It's not about me or if I'm going to die. It's about what my actions do to affect others around me.
But still a fear.
It is a fear. And, you know, you said that, and I'm like, deep down inside of me, I'm just like, oh, wow. I mean, because think about how many people, Mary, out there that probably have similar or just have issues that they have that same feeling, but it allows them to actually fall apart, right? Because they start looking at themselves negatively because they're afraid of it, going, oh, what's wrong with me? And woe is me. And they don't do anything. They don't step up to the plate like you. So that fear in that respect is actually creating a negative more than a positive. Just like anything, you can look at anything from a good standpoint or a bad standpoint. We need to take fear, stare fear in the eyes, right? And defeat it and use it to our advantage.
Fear. So Lisa, she goes, and we all
good morning,
most
Lisa.
people,
Hi, Lisa.
this is, you're born with two fears: fear of loud noises and fear of falling. As a baby, as an infant, those are the two things that you don't know, you haven't learned anything. And she states that most fears are developed environmentally, and you're like, yeah, okay, great, right? Here's the way I go, and Mary must have gone through a tunnel. Thanks, Mary, for joining us. Fear is the lack of education. That's all that it is. It's the lack of education and or experience, and I'll use experience as education. Most people are afraid to die. Why?
Because they don't know what's on the other side.
They don't know, right? I was,
and it's not something you can read about.
I was afraid of snakes until my buddy had snakes, and I sat in a room with snakes, and they crawled on me, and
and you were exposed to your fear, so you're able to overcome it and understand it.
No, I was not exposed to my fear. I was educated.
Yeah, but okay, you were exposed to those, and then you realized through being exposed to them that it's not as bad as you might have thought it would be, because you were probably looking at the worst case scenario. They're going to bite me, squeeze me. I mean, I'm assuming.
I don't know. I really don't know why. I really had no reason to be scared. I didn't understand them. I didn't know. Right? I could have opened up a encyclopedia and read an encyclopedia and really understood snakes, right? But I never did. I just was never educated.
Well, the question though is why
are people scared of spiders?
But why were you scared of them? You know what I mean? My question is, did you watch that movie? Remember that back in the 70s?
Because
remember that one?
Because I was uneducated.
Right, that's what I'm saying. But
what
started your fear was probably misinformation or something along those lines.
I didn't know. I didn't know.
Okay.
Right.
But you overcame your fear. You pushed past that point, right?
I didn't overcome my fear, because you know why?
You sat
because you know why? If I'm walking in Ghana and there's a 25-foot snake that's eating a human, I'm going to be pretty fucking scared.
Well, you're going to
understand what I'm saying?
You're going to be the fight or flight there.
You understand? Even though I'm educated on snakes, but guess what? You understand what I'm saying, right?
I get that.
I watch Swamp People, right? I love that show on History Channel. They hunt people. Yeah, they hunt alligators, right? And I'm not as scared of alligators because I've learned about alligators. So what happens? We go on a kayak trip down in Florida on the Black River, and you have a GPS that's telling you everything. It's like, hey, this is called Alligator Alley. My family got pretty scared. Well, this was on spring break. I didn't get scared. My daughter,
as long as the car didn't break down.
Well, we're in a kayak.
Well, they're kayaking. What's even worse, they're in their element.
Right. So this was on spring break. My daughter's fiance, he hunts. I mean, he's a manly man, right? I mean, he was scared to death. It was funny to watch this kid. He was scared to death, and I'm just like.
Because
I go, you might not just want to poke down at the bottom, because it was still right because of my education on alligators. Now, I've never wrestled one, I've never seen one, but my education on alligators said, hey, it's too cold for them to come up. It's still too early in the year because they want to stay down where it's warmer, right? And so did we see any? No, because I said if they're out today, they're going to be sunning themselves,
right?
To try to warm up. So you would see them on land. We don't see any, right? So I was not afraid. I was not scared at all. Just like,
well, because so you had the knowledge
because I was educated. So I think I am as scared of jumping out of an airplane.
Of course.
You're not. You enjoy that.
I love it.
Right? But I haven't been through the educational piece. I haven't studied parachute. I haven't studied.
That's something you can't study. You got to do it.
Sure, you can. Sure,
I know, but you can't. Right? But that's one of those things that you have to experience it. You have to experience jumping out of a plane. That's not, you can read about it all you want, but until you actually decide to do it, you'll never really understand the whole
Morning, Jim.
The whole experience. I mean, it's just hard to explain. It's just like, until I do it, I could never understand. I could get an idea, but what you went through while you served.
Well, here's
I get a
my
picture,
thought.
but
Here's
I
my
can't
thought
see
on
it.
fear. Okay, I'll tell you a quick story here. Fear for me is one of the biggest elements that causes me to focus.
Yeah.
And I mean, for example, I took my niece, who had never fired a firearm before. This Rick, I just bought this 9mm. Can you teach me how to shoot? So we went over to a range, and I had the target up really close, about maybe 10 yards. And I said, all right, now this thing is going to make a big loud noise. And so, okay. So she heard that thing go off. You see her flinch. Well, now she's beyond that. One little step beyond.
Yeah.
And then I got her to shoot, and now look in the target area. I want you to hit in this area. She's all over the place.
Yeah. So
we only had like about 100 rounds to teach her how to do this. But in the very end, here's what I did. I said, imagine, all right, took the target and I put a big slash through there. And I said, see that head? That's the bad guy. See all this down here? That is your son. Someone had just broken into your home, and he's got his arm around the neck of your son and a knife up against his throat. I'm sorry, it sounds morbid.
No.
But I told her, I said, now, what are you going to do? Are you afraid? She goes, he's going to hurt my son. I said, I want you to really put that in your mind. Now I want you to put a round right in that bad guy's head. And she didn't miss.
Yeah.
She put 5 rounds in that head. And I went, wow.
You could feel that right together, that she was desperate and was fearful.
Focus.
In the
Come on,
same thing,
nailed
and she overcame it.
Nailed it.
Right?
I thought I heard somebody knock.
They
did that.
Knock, knocking on heaven's door. But that plays into that, right? Because she felt both of those.
Exactly.
Not that she got controlled, but she did. Through fear and desperation, she focused and she controlled that situation, and she took out the threat. Right.
I think mountain
where
climbers
before,
do
when
it.
she was just lollygagging around, you couldn't hit shit. Right.
Yeah.
When it came point, because of the fear and desperation, it controlled her thoughts to put her in that mindset to take that person out.
It's funny. And even in law enforcement, I learned this. Somebody got a knife in their hand and someone shoots at them. What's funny is that, by George, they subliminally shoot the knife.
Yeah.
They'll shoot the weapon. They don't aim at the person at these little spots and so on.
Yeah, that's what the Lone Ranger used to do.
And you ask somebody at a bank, what did the gun look like? And it might have been a 22, but it was a big cannon.
It was a hand cannon.
So if you've ever got a gun pointing at you, it's extremely dangerous.
Yeah.
And well, I mean, it's your mind goes.
He's a Marine.
No, but I'm saying for our listeners out there, I know he does.
We laugh at that.
No, but you know what I mean. To somebody,
22.
I mean, think about it. You said it was your niece.
That's not a gun.
Had it?
Yeah.
And someone sells her first gun, a 9mm. Like, really?
Exactly.
I mean, that should. I mean, for me, you should start them slow.
Marines now look at a gun and just go, "Okay, Jimmy, get the drone."
I was just gonna say, they don't even need them anymore. It's like, press this button and you're done. That's not fighting fair.
So Shane asks, says, did you want or enjoy the snake experience?
I think you're supposed to ask somebody else that. She enjoyed it.
No, he was a buddy of mine, and I found it rather interesting that he had all these pet snakes, and he had one of those big yellow Burmese python things.
Yeah, those are sweet.
And so I was like, all right, well, this is cool. Let me, and then you pet the snake. You're like, well, this is
not as bad.
This is a weird feeling thing, right? And so my body wasn't scared. I mean, because he was there, and then he's like, well, I got to go get their food, right?
Come back with
so it's just me in this bedroom with these snakes crawling around, and I was like, and they're just coming up and their tongues going and just smelling me and whatnot. And, they're not strangling me. They're not coming up to, and then he walks in with a dead rabbit, a frozen rabbit and a frozen rat or whatever. And the snakes are like, hey, it's eating time,
I want to read this one from Shana, because this really just took me back to high school. Awesome. She says, do you remember the brand No Fear in the 80s? My mother called it No Brains because of the amount of unnecessary risk the kids took. The cool ones anyway. I love that brand. I still have a shirt for that, and stickers on my skis from the no fear, because that was the way my friends and I lived back then.
Yeah.
You know, it was, I mean, we had fear, but we pushed past it all the time because we would just taunt each other. Oh, you big babe. You know, different words than a baby, but you know what I mean? And we would do that, and we pushed past fear. And, you know, I don't think there's that, you know, for me, there's not a lot of push these days from outside influences to help you push past that fear, other than all the crap you'll see on social media saying, do this, do that, don't do that. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
But your tribe, right? The people closest to you should be the ones pushing you and challenging you. That's what they're there for, right? To help you push past that fear. We all have it. A lot of us just don't talk about it. I was guilty for many years of not talking about it until I finally I'm like, I was tired of it. And I tell everybody, and it's been the most freeing experience ever for me to talk about my fears and to talk about my anxieties and the desperation. So I saw that note up there, and I just had to laugh, because I'll have to bring the shirt in next week. It's just a goofy looking guy, no fear. It was like almost like a blockhead, I think we would say.
First of all, you still fit into a shirt from the 80s?
Dude, I was a lot heavier in the 80s. I don't get rid of anything. Have you been? Oh, you haven't been to my house.
No.
You come to my house.
No, we're real good friends.
I'm a hoarder.
You never invited me over.
Yes, I have. Yes, I have.
You've invited me out on the boat, but not over.
Well, that is my house.
There you go.
My house of pain.
I think once people get wise, right? I mean, we went through 2020 where a lot of people were scared. And why were they scared? Some were scared, some were mad, some were calling BS, right? And now it's kind of all but disappeared.
Well, yeah, it went away because Biden shut it off.
But why? It had nothing to do with the sitting president. So why? And of course, we don't talk politics here.
That's not politics.
So
that was a comment.
That was a shot. Yeah.
Sorry.
So,
I apologize. I will.
So
go to confession.
So we came out of a time where we were very fearful as a world, not as a nation, but as a world.
Right.
Very true.
And now we're not so fearful, are we? Same bad virus that's out there. But now we kind of understand it because of education, because of, maybe it didn't start in a bad. Oh.
I remember those days when this first started.
Mm-hmm.
I remember my wife freaking out.
Sure.
As did a lot of people.
Oh my goodness. It was a tremendous amount of fear.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, I remember her saying to me, I don't want to die. And I went, okay, I had enough of this.
Yeah.
You know, I am going to live. And if this thing kills me, then I lived a good life.
Right. She had that response, though, she had was.
That was her response.
Right.
And
very typical.
Inside, I was just as frightened because, hey, this thing, this unforeseen, this thing I can't see is going to kill us.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the way it sounded. All these people were dying in New York, and they're showing all of the trucks because they don't have enough labs to put them in burials and so on. They're freezing them. And what is going on here?
The story we were told.
It was the story we were told.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes.
Right.
And it was the big, in the end, now that we know the facts, it was a false narrative.
Right. So think about that. Think about that one. So the fear that was instilled into us of the unknown, which at the beginning, it definitely threw me for a Louis to a certain point. I mean, I've questioned everything since really day one, but it threw the fear into us and to everybody. And because of that fear, we became desperate to get back to normalcy,
Right.
To have our lives and to not worry. So what do? Well, go do this. It'll be better for you. It will help you. And I'm not, go do this. Go put this in your body. Go do. You're out of desperation. People were doing things that they might not have normally done, right? Because they were so afraid and they desperately wanted to be back the way it was. Well, hey, newsflash, folks, it's never going to be back the way it was.
If you haven't seen Woody Harrelson's monologue on Saturday Night Live, go check.
I saw that.
Go check that.
I saw that the other day.
Very brilliant.
Really, I haven't seen it. I'll have to watch that.
Yeah, brilliant. So here's what happens, and here's Scott. You are the perfect example of this. Is that we came out of a time where we were very scared. But not just Illinois, not just America.
The world
was pretty scared on things that were happening. Okay.
Yeah.
And now, because we've become a little bit educated on things, now we feel that everything that happens, everything that comes down the pipe, everything that's on what I call sound bites and bumper sticker, ruling and things of that nature. We feel that there is an overreaching power that's trying to manipulate everything. And now, no matter what happens, everything is a plot to destroy the world or destroy a certain type of,
conspiracy theories galore.
I won't say conspiracies because conspiracies, the terminology conspiracy didn't show up until after Kennedy was shot. So there you go.
So
And it was the New York Times that coined that phrase.
So you say I'm a perfect example. Explain to me what I'm a perfect
example.
Well,
just like what you're talking about. Fear and desperation are guiding people. Everybody's scared now, and people are trying to control people through fear. That's really where this was coming from.
Right.
When I go, I rest my faith in a different power. I rest the fate of this world in a different power. I will look at the people who scream global warming and we've got to save you ain't gonna save this earth. This blueberry is gonna be around a lot longer than you. You ain't gonna save it, right? Making a paper straw that you can't suck milk out of or a coffee out of
you just get sips.
is not going to all of a sudden save this planet. You want to save the ocean? Create laws out there, because there are no laws out there. Guess what every military in the world does? Guess what every freight ship in the world does? They throw shit overboard because they can. Right? Because there are no laws out there. It's just the way it is, folks. Right?
Well, it's laziness.
It's not because you had a Starbucks today.
I mean,
in the middle of Illinois.
I mean, it does add up over time. So, I mean, doing your part to change things. I mean, in that respect, I get it. But,
Ted, good morning, buddy. Glad to have you with us. Right. What does Shayna say there? We have a natural need to tame chaos. Salem.
Salam. Rwanda.
Yep.
Salam.
Holocaust.
How do you say salami?
That's Salem. The witch hunts, right? Rwanda, the Holocaust, unvaxxed, the belief of false flags are a result of surrendering
to a savior outside ourselves.
Ooh, that's pretty deep,
right?
It's pretty deep.
I'll have to ingest that one for a little bit here. Well,
I think I will go with that bottom line, right? The result of surrendering to a savior outside of ourselves. Yeah, that's where we fall in line with Heil Hitler. That's where we fall in line with, the mass genocide in Rwanda. Right?
Yeah.
Because we're like, oh, this person, I like what they're saying. They know, here we go.
Exactly.
You
it's
resonate
cultural.
with them. You
Oh,
can
sorry.
resonate. No, it's fine. I'm really bad with that. So just kick me. But no, I mean, people tend to gravitate to things they resonate with, right? And Holocaust or whatever, or what makes them comfortable. I mean, I couldn't imagine what it would have been like that, but during the Holocaust and all that, obviously. But what was driving people back then? Fear and desperation, right? Fear of what's going to happen and desperate to not have it happen.
Like, I can't help but to think about the Renaissance time or before that. Thomas Hobbes said, "Man is a wolf to man." So we started off by saying, "Hey, this is a product of our environment." I think Mary mentioned that, and but you think about it. Go back to ancient China. The peasants, they didn't even come out of a peasantry society since before the 1980s, for crying out loud.
Right.
Prior to that, these guys and gals, their families were struggling just to eat. Yeah. They don't have the food resources that we do, so they make their own. They don't have the energy resources we do, so they manipulate whatever they can in order to get fire or light and so on. So these folks here, they out of desperation, So you look at their political leadership back then, it was very easy to, and their concept is, I think it's filial piety. The father is the head of the household. He's got 30 people that he masters. And above that is the block commander. And above that is the emperor themselves. And what led these dynasties to rule was as long as they could control, for example, the Yellow River. But when that Yellow River changed, the dynasty fell.
Yeah.
So it goes back to even I mentioned Machiavelli when he talked to the prince. He said, "Hey, look, you can kill the people, but whatever you do, don't take their land."
Right.
So when you take away their source of being able to survive, then you cannot master them anymore. That's when they're going to revolt.
Yeah.
And the Chinese fell right into that. This fatherly figure of everything under the sun. He's our God. It's a natural propensity for people to do that. And I think that was probably the reason why we developed this concept of nation states.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it boils down to that. And what is that? Fear, desperation.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and if you really look at it in any aspect of your life, fear and desperation play a huge role, whether we realize it or not. Even like just friendships, you can have fear and desperation, and you're desperate to be accepted, right? To have somebody, to have your tribe, your group, right? And you're also at the same time fearful that you might not be accepted.
Many people, don't say you, don't generalize everybody, because it's false.
I apologize. I'm really bad with that, with saying everyone and no one, and so I'm always finite, or So
well, in Chicago, we say you guys.
You guys. Hey, you guys. Hey, how you doing? But that, and I do that, and I know that sometimes my word choices are a little.
No, you're fine.
No, it's true, because sometimes things that I want to say come off a little different, and I know that, and that's why I always preface things with a lot of people I talk to. Like if I'm gonna have a serious conversation with somebody, hey, understand that my meaning, or my whole desire is X, right? How I get to there sometimes might not be great, because I have great intentions, but sometimes, my brain will get a little bit ahead of my mouth, or my mouth will get a little bit ahead of my brain. See what happened there? It happened right there. But
so
I don't want to make it just everybody.
Shayna asked you a good question over there. Scott, can you read that?
So it says, how many of the Marines you served with do you believe could stand against an unsound order? Sorry, no military knowledge at all. What an unsound? Oh, like an order that would be considered like illegal, or right? Well, that's what you started talking in the beginning about brainwashing. I mean,
think about it. I could go back to that question takes me back to Lieutenant Calley in Chulai in Vietnam. That was an unsound order where he said burn the village and kill everybody, and that's exactly what happened. And so that could happen, but I can say this: we're still men, we're still humans, we're still very much a product of our individualism, of our Constitution. We're a product of our environment too. So if somebody were to tell me and tell my crew, hey, we're going to take them all out, we're going to kill them all and let God sort them out, we would have not have followed through that. But in the same token, if they say, all right, boys, we're going to go into Fallujah and we're going to kill every terrorist we get our hands on, then they'll pick up a gun and they will walk right into those bullets, and they'll do what they can to take out those people. Which is just as evil if you think about it.
But so in regards to Shayna's
Drew,
question,
what's happening? Good morning, buddy.
She said, would you follow an unsound order? And my question really is, I start thinking of like, okay, what's the situation?
I would
put you in this situation and say you do this or else, and you're in the middle of some foreign country that you have no way to get out of.
To that, Shayna, I would say, what's the tone of my wife's voice and her look?
So, in effect, it depends on the totality of circumstances.
Well, that's kind of that's what I was kind of getting at, because in certain circumstances, depending on what the unsound order would be, I mean, is it just hellacious, or is it, I guess it just depends on that. But fear and desperation could make somebody, a good man, a good God-fearing, a good person, do something wrong because they're fearing for their life and they're desperate to get out of this situation, right? I mean,
Well, I mean, you take a look at nice to see the space face in the house.
Oh, Mr. Cappuccino, good morning, sir.
Oh,
You
the
should
Space
jump in
Force.
line.
Space Force, not Space Face.
Space Force.
Yeah.
Yeah, you.
Space Force.
You don't come down here. He's going to take you out.
Space Force. If I could help, if I could read. See, that's one of my fears.
You need to get better glasses then.
I just got new glasses.
Yeah, well, maybe you need to get better
So-
ones.
So if you take a look at a lot of people throughout the history, and the people who have done great things and the people who have done horrible things, were never afraid of the outcome, or they felt they were above the law or whatever.
Or at least
Right.
you would think, based on how they
So-
act, right, that they did have no fear, but they could still have fear, but they could be desperate to
Right.
quell a demon in their head, or you know what I mean?
Right.
We don't know, and you don't ever,
Right.
you won't ever know unless you tell somebody, you talk about these
You
things.
know, it's you're afraid, right? I would be afraid to walk down my street, set all the houses on fire, and kill all the people, right? However, if I'm in a foreign land at war, I may not be afraid if that's the order that's given.
Would the word,
right?
would the word be afraid, or would you be, because what was your motive?
You're
to
afraid
go-
of the unknown. I mean, that's
Right,
that's the
right.
bottom
You're
line,
afraid of the
right?
unknown, but
That's
why would you?
what you're uneducated about,
Right, but why
right?
would you be wanting to even thinking about walking down the street and setting your houses on fire? Why would you be fearful?
Because I got that order, and if I did that, oh my gosh, guess who's going to jail for that?
Right.
You know, if you think about it, that happened. Tiananmen Square.
Yeah.
Think about that. I was in China the year before that, and I remember, being me, a military guy, I'm following these military fellows around, and I'm watching them.
Geisha girls.
Well, no, they didn't have those. I didn't see any of those.
Yeah, I thought that's what you were
But
following.
I didn't mean to imply that I was looking.
The desperation and the fear.
But I remember following these military folks around, and I walked away thinking, if we ever go to war with you guys have had it, because you're deflated, they're demotivated. But then Tiananmen Square came along, and what I realized is that they didn't use any of those military personnel in Beijing. They called them from outside. They came in, and they're the ones that had no problems using force against people they didn't know.
Well, yeah, right.
So they were,
I mean, that makes
fear
sense.
element was manipulated.
Well, that makes sense. I mean, you don't want to use somebody that knows people. I mean, you don't want to send Kent into his church to kill people. You know, if that's the thing, you want to send somebody that knows nobody that's in there. It's completely unpersonal to them.
When you're looking
well,
at,
I mean, if that's what they're doing.
When you're looking at the idea of manipulation, like the Lieutenant Calley thing, it's a very fine line between what's good and bad in war, or in law enforcement in some cases. You know, sometimes, you know, the ability to be able to distinction when to pull a trigger and when not to, or when to take someone's life, or to do something desperate like burn a house down. It's a fine line. It depends on the totality of circumstances, but I think the answer to that is an attempt, at least on the part of the military, to come up with rules of engagement. You know, you will not do this, you will not do that. You'll limit your force. You don't call it. You don't do anything unless the person has a gun, and you call it in when you get permission. So they try to control that. So in that fog of war sort of thing, they're trying to eliminate that and eliminate that blur as much as they can.
Right.
But as far as I know, and I hate to sound altruistic and prejudicial in the sense that ours is better than everyone else's. As far as I know, in my personal experiences, we're the only ones that at least attempt that. And when I say we, the Americans were the only ones, and Canadians, I suppose.
Were
Canada,
the only ones. Have some back bacon.
He's been there.
You've been to Canada? Yeah.
Spent some time there.
Yeah,
have some brewskis.
Yeah.
Oh man. Shayna just wrote in and said,
Shayna.
fear and uncertainty are different things. I'm afraid of group
think
and group thinking and mob mentality, which is a very real threat when whole societies are in flux.
that's a reason for war.
Well, they are different. They are different things, but being fearful of the uncertain or the unknown, they work together. But I'm trying to really read
here's
the bottom of
here's what I'll say.
I need your glasses.
Here's
This
what
is
I'll
a very real threat when the whole societies are in flux.
Right.
And I think you're looking at it, correct me if I'm wrong, Shana, but it seems to me you're looking at it from a systemic level of analysis rather than on a block. It's nature of nation states. How do they interact?
So,
You know,
and I laugh at
Good
not
jokes.
not at Shana. I truly appreciate, and she said yes, she is. I appreciate her thought and whatnot. But here's the entire thing. Ever since this blue marble has been made, societies have been in flux.
We're always in flux. We're always
There has
going to
been
be.
war since the beginning of time.
right.
Right? If it wasn't with people, it was with dinosaurs. Right? This is just.
We're always in a world.
This
of
is not new. Right?
Exactly.
Right.
There and we get surprised and go, gosh, we want to bring democracy into the Middle East. They don't want it, folks.
They can't even
We're
relate
trying to
to
push
it.
They
it on
don't want it. Why we're so naive to think that we're perfect and this is the way it should be over there. They've been warring since biblical times.
Right.
Over a stone.
And before that,
And before that.
Power.
So we've always been in flux, right? And anywhere that you have human beings, you're going to have flux.
Yeah,
You're going to
there's
have
no way around it.
tensions.
Yeah.
There's just no way around it,
Yeah.
right? And I mean, I can take a look at my three brothers, and none of our households are the same, yet we were all raised in the same household. The way that we move, the way that we vote, the way that we think, the way that we raise our kids, the music to the music we listen to the you know what I'm saying?
right?
Here's four guys who were raised in the same
Your
house
poor mother.
who now have totally different totally different. Oh yeah, hey, and she's at her time at her prime, she was 5 foot and 3/4 inches.
We
Right.
had,
She's
She put the fear of God
Yeah.
into your ass,
Oh, yeah.
right?
we
Yeah.
had 10 kids in our family. Can you imagine that chaos?
Right.
That's I know my mom had
So-
9.
So the idea is, I think a lot of people in today's time frame on today's timeline are thinking this. Oh my gosh! Oh look! Oh, they burned down Kenosha. Oh,
Right.
Well, shit's been happening
Yeah.
forever.
But
This
it-
isn't new.
It's just more pronounced these days. With
No, it's not.
I think it is in that respect because like people are more. I feel that people are way more connected with what's going on in the world.
Wrong. Wrong.
That you can call me wrong all the time. You know that's fine. But I just
People-
I feel like more
people
people
are
are paying
driven-
more attention out of fear to
Wrong.
watch the news
Wrong.
and to listen to everyone else's nonsense.
Wrong.
Explain.
That gives you what you look for and what you want.
That's not a woman.
It's an algorithm. You are run by an algorithm.
I
You don't-
hate to say it, but I have to agree.
You
You
don't
100%. Don't
you
get me
aren't-
going on phones.
You aren't. So everything you just said is false, then, because you aren't driven. You get your perspective on the world or on things. You don't get the whole perspective, and so you aren't more connected now. You're not more aware.
I have more access to things all day long. When I was younger, if I wanted to watch the news or get information, I generally had to be at home to watch the television set. Yes, you had the radio, but now it's 24/7 in front of me. And like I said, don't get me going on phones. I think the internet and the phones are the greatest thing invented ever for business. For us as people, I think it's the worst thing in the world. That's my take. Just
What I see is you could ask any kid, hey,
if they'll talk to you.
how's Lexi doing today? How is Jesse doing? How is Barb? They could tell you everything that's going on around their friends at any moment.
Yep.
They could tell you where they are,
Yep.
etc. That's where they're connected, but it's a
Yep.
limited connection. You ask them, hey, did you hear about the train derailment in Ohio? Who? What? When?
No, what?
They don't have a clue, and they don't
There's
care.
so many times people on here say something, right?
Yeah.
That I go, I can't comment on. I don't know. I've never heard that. People are like, how have you never heard that? I don't watch the news.
Right.
Right. I read if I'm going to look for news, there's two places I go: the United Kingdom or Australia. And I get the news on America from there. Right. People are like, what?
I did that for years and years.
Yeah.
Because I lived there. And
Yeah.
I saw my country from a window.
Right.
So it was an interesting perspective.
It
was
is
a different perspective.
It is, but you don't get the bias, you don't get the slant, right?
Right.
People still say the news. There is no the news. It's all a big business. It's money. Listen, why is it 24 hours? Because I'm making millions and millions of dollars. There used to be such thing as journalism. There's not. Hey, you're pretty. Can you read this teleprompter? Because you look good, Rick, people are going to watch us. Can you read this teleprompter?
You know, it's funny you say that.
That's what it is. There's no more journalism. There's no more anything. And then people also say, well, Walter Cronkite. Yeah, you know how slanted that guy was?
Yeah.
Well, he was quite.
Things are not always as they seem,
right?
In my view, he ended the Vietnam War.
Yeah,
right. Well, things are not always as they seem. You know, and that's something we need as people need to decipher.
But people are not more plugged in. You get fed what you want. Right. It is not a buffet. It is not a buffet. You literally get fed through algorithms, through things that you like, through words that you say that even though your phone is off, still gathers data, and you get exactly what you are looking for.
But you know, if you go back to even more simpler times, go back to Davy Crockett when he was a congressman. It didn't take much to get him out of office.
Nope.
All it took was a reputation.
That's it.
And so in a way, in its own roundabout way, it was an algorithm.
Yep.
So nothing has changed.
Nothing's changed.
So we're easily manipulated by our governments.
Yep.
But we're even easily manipulated by even the people in our communities.
Yeah.
Fear
and
desperation.
Hey, guess why?
Right,
guess why the good old newspapers? Remember
That's
this when you used to get print on your hand? The newspapers, we used to deliver them as kids, right?
Oh yeah. I have black hands every Wednesday.
This newspaper, we give our support to this candidate.
Right.
It's all slanted.
Right.
It's who's putting in the most amount of money. And you know,
nothing's changed.
Right. The only thing back then is, well, I get you chose what paper you wanted to read. Did you read the New Sun? Did you read the Herald? Did you know what I mean? You chose your information.
People still do.
You can, but there's so much more. I feel there's so much more false information, and these companies and these sites are feeding and are benefiting from the fear and desperation that has been put into us, regardless of what the issue might be.
Your truth is yours.
Right. My truth is my truth. Right. And yours is yours. Problem is those lines have become skewed. Right. Now I'm not as much of an individual, and I'm not saying me specifically, but we as people are not as much individualists anymore. It's not just about you. Now it's everything that's involved. I mean, you should always think about others, you know, when you're making big decisions, but it really comes down to you and what you want.
The impact of tribalism as well. I mean, you think about on a massive scale,
right?
My truth is mine and their truth is theirs. And all of a sudden we pick a line, and now we have tribes. Yeah. And now we have left and right and not very much in between.
Right. Well, you stick with, and that's why you stick when you hang out with people that you have commonalities with, right? To help better them, right? Because you might have a common goal or a common idea. So you're doing that to help.
So now you got Shana says do a show on tribalism. So now you got to come back next week.
Oh boy,
we'll talk about tribalism.
Oh man, I'm off on that one. I'm going to be on vacation.
And here's where I'll push back on what you said about, your mom, God love her. Thank you for listening. Your mom, you come home with a D-. Oh, it's all right, Scotty.
You saw my report
You're
cards,
all right,
right?
Scotty. You try your best. You're okay, bud. Or you've heard the marching band parent who's like, oh, look at little Jimmy's the only one in step. Right? Right? And right?
That'd be a pretty bad day if only one person's in a step, or maybe he's the only one out of step.
And so here's what happens. Your algorithm goes, oh, it's okay, Scotty. You're gonna agree with this. You're gonna like what I show you today, right? And if you, as many people are, as we found out about social media and the algorithms there, if you're angry and you're looking for a fight, guess what you see? Opposing thought all day long on your scroll.
Oh, you'll always find someone that disagrees with you.
But people, hey, I will comment on this because that pisses in. Oh, now I got to fight.
Keyboard warriors,
right?
It's automatic.
It's automatic.
Right.
Now, that happens all the time. you stay off of social media for a year or create a new profile, guess what happens? You don't see that same stuff anymore.
Right.
Right. My entire social media is all commercials about stuff that I like. I very seldomly see now people's posts, right? Hey, did you see that post? No, I didn't. But I did.
I get that a lot.
I do have a woodworking project that out of pallets.
It's a funny thing. Once again, you become a product of that environment,
right?
And so you get molded by it,
right.
And it doesn't take long for that conditioning to take place. I remember I worked the paddy wagon with a fellow, very competent. We were a great paddy wagon, but we were involved with every violent act, every bar fight, every domestic dispute. And after a while, after about 2 or 3 years of working that, I could no longer make a distinction between the honest tax-paying citizen and what I referred to as the dirtballs that I was dealing with on a daily basis.
Sure.
So I went to my sergeant. I said, "You got to get me out of this paddy wagon. I got to go. I can't do this anymore."
Yeah.
I'm even looking at my wife as a bad person. Come on, we got to fix this.
Yeah.
And it took a while before
the first one.
But I'll tell you what, that was my practice wife.
Whoa,
Sorry.
hey.
We practiced. I failed, but now I'm doing well. Okay.
It brought you to the current.
So, but in reality though, that's once I got out of that paddy wagon and I pulled over to first person, and it was an 80-year-old guy for speeding, and rather than "I want to see your license," I was, "Good evening, sir. How are you?" It was
right.
And I said,
totally different.
You're actually a human, right? You're actually a human, right?
Why do they call it a paddy wagon? That's what Shayna asked. Do you know why they call it a paddy wagon?
It's an ancient term, goes back to the early 1900s, really, and it was just like a padded wagon sort of thing.
Oh, I thought it was Paddy's wagon after having a little too much liquor.
It would have been.
He put
no doubt,
Paddy O'Toole in his wagon. Paddy O'Toole. Hey, put me down.
That's it.
It has to do with Irish. There's
Hey,
no doubt
listen,
about it.
I can't thank you both, Rick. We do this every Friday at 7:30.
Thank you for
More than
stopping
welcome.
in today.
More than
Thanks for
welcome
your
to come in,
service.
man.
Thank you.
This
This
is
is awesome.
This is what we do.
We appreciate you.
But hey, we've got huge days set up. Of course, we've got what time is it now? Yeah, so at 9:00, it's Bridging Civil Tension with Bill Wallace, followed by at 10:30, Innovative Strategies with Bill Hasse. We've got the Neighborhood Pulse rolling in here. We've got In the Know with Steph and Joe. We've got Dream Home Experts, not quite ready yet. Their studio is looking great. Their fifth season is going to be rolling pretty quick, which is cool. But yep, a lot of good things happening here at 21.6 and that. If you like music, let us know what you want to hear. We can play that. We're an absolute non-genre station. So listen to us 24/7. We're out on Twitch. We're out on Twitter. We're out on TuneIn Radio. We're everywhere that you probably never thought you could find us, but we are there. Just look up on Apple Music 216 the net. There we are as well. Coming soon, hopefully this week is Roger That Chronicles will have their podcast out on Spotify and Anchor.fm, and hopefully we can blow that up. That is a great show that goes on every first and third Thursday.
Right.
Coming up this month, maybe later in the month, on the first and third Tuesday at noon, is going to be Individual United with Jamie Maravich and
United Way, yeah.
Karen Abbott Tremel. It's going to be a cool show. We've got Drew Cappuccino, who's doing Leveled Up. It's going to be awesome through the DCCS and in corporation with our 21.6 Creator Studios. That's going to be a cool show on how to level up life, how to level up business. Really cool show with Drew Cappuccino. What else? We just got
Pistachio.
We got a bunch of cool stuff going on. So just like us, love us, share us, and continue to tune in, because without you, we would just be three idiots in front of cameras talking to each other.
And that's okay. But yeah,
Speak for yourself.
So guys, thanks for tuning in, and yeah, stay tuned all day long. Just a power pack day. Every day is a good day here at 216 the net. DDOE, the main enterprise, is a daily dose of encouragement, which is what we try to give out to you folks every week. Just topics that us as humans, just things we need to explore. If there's something you need to talk about, there's something going on, talk to people, write us in. If you have topics you want us to cover during the show, we're here for you guys. Yeah, tribalism next week, and Scott's on vacation. But thanks for tuning in, guys. I love each and every one of you, and I appreciate all your comments. Go out, Have a great day. And you know what? Pass on the love to people because people need that.
Yep.
Awesome.
Until we meet again, be good. But more importantly, folks, be good to one another. Take care.
I want to be good to myself.